There's a moment, a quiet, almost imperceptible second, when someone challenges you, calls you out, or questions your integrity. And in that instant, most people make the same mistake. They rush to defend themselves. They say, "That's not what I meant," or "You misunderstood me," or "That's not fair." It sounds reasonable, even honest. But to Machiavelli, that's the moment you surrender your power. Because the instant you start defending yourself, you admit you care about their approval. You show that their opinion has power over you. And in the games of power, perception is everything. The moment they see you react, they sense weakness. The moment you flinch, they smell blood. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. The one who defends himself steps down. The one who stays silent forces the world to defend him. That is the quiet art of control. Defending yourself rarely changes anyone's mind. What it actually does is shift control away from you. When you explain, you accept their rules. You acknowledge their right to question you. And in doing so, you hand over authorship of your own story. Even when you're right, you still look guilty, because only the unsure rush to explain. The strong let silence do the work. They let accusations echo in emptiness until they burn themselves out. Because true control is not found in argument, but in stillness. The wise don't fight fog, they let it fade. The true power move is turning the accusation into a mirror, letting the attacker see his own insecurity reflected back at him. The one who reacts first loses control of the frame. And Machiavelli knew the timeless truth: whoever controls the frame controls how the world sees everything else. Most people defend themselves because they want to be understood. They think that if they clarify enough, explain enough, repeat enough, they'll be vindicated. But that impulse doesn't come from strategy, it comes from fear. You don't actually want clarity. You want control. Clarity belongs to therapy, control belongs to power. Power doesn't come from being understood, it comes from being untouchable. When someone calls you arrogant, selfish, or manipulative, and you say, "You don't understand," you've already lost. Because now you're reacting. You've confirmed that their opinion matters. You've shown that they can move you. And the moment you reveal that, you hand them the strings they'll pull next time. Machiavelli would tell you, mystery is worth more than any explanation. Once people can predict your reactions, they can control your outcomes. Think about the most powerful people you've seen, not the loudest or the most admired, but the ones who seem to carry gravity in their silence. The ones whose stillness makes others uneasy. The ones who don't flinch under attack. Machiavelli understood that silence is not weakness, it's a weapon. The one who explains gives away power. The one who remains silent makes others fill in the blanks, and people almost always overestimate what they don't understand. When you stay calm while others lash out, they begin to doubt their own words. Their conviction crumbles. Their confidence falters. They start wondering if they've misjudged you, or worse, if you know something they don't. That's how you flip the dynamic. The less you react, the more control you gain. The more emotional they become, the smaller they appear. Because the true strategist doesn't fight chaos. He lets chaos reveal its own weakness. Now picture this. You walk into a meeting or a crowded room. Someone throws a jab, subtle or sharp, aimed right at your character. Maybe they mock your success or undermine your idea. All eyes turn to see your reaction. Here's your move: nothing. No defense. No smirk. No witty comeback. Just calm stillness. In that moment, you become unreadable, and unreadable means dangerous. Everyone watching starts to wonder, why didn't you react? Does he know something? Is he too powerful to care? Did the insult fail to land? You've just inverted the frame. They're no longer watching the attacker. They're watching you, and your calm presence speaks louder than any defense ever could. Machiavelli studied people as much as he studied politics. He understood that the mind fills silence with fear. The less you say, the more people imagine. And imagination is a far greater amplifier of power than words will ever be. Sometimes, the coldest move isn't just ignoring the attack, it's flipping it back. Someone calls you manipulative? You simply respond, if that's how you see it. No anger. No explanation. Just calm detachment. What happens next is predictable. They expected you to react. They wanted to provoke you. Instead, they find themselves talking into a void. The silence becomes unbearable, not for you, but for them. They start to wonder if they've gone too far. They begin to feel exposed. You've forced them to carry the emotional energy they tried to project onto you. Machiavelli called this the turn of the blade. Never meet the sword with a shield. Let the attacker fall on his own weapon. Here's the advanced move. When accused, never deny, reframe. If someone calls you arrogant, say, "Funny how confidence makes people uncomfortable." If they call you manipulative, say, "Only those who can't be influenced say that." If they call you fake, say, "People say that when they stop getting what they want." You're not rejecting the accusation. You're turning it back into a statement about them. Now they're on the defensive. The crowd's attention shifts. It's no longer about your reputation, it's about their reaction. That's not defense, that's dominance. It's verbal judo. It's what separates the emotional from the strategic. Machiavelli would have smiled at that, because to him, power wasn't about being liked. It was about being in control of perception, even in the middle of conflict. The world trains you to protect your image, to defend your name, to clear your reputation. But that's the trap. Machiavelli saw it clearly. The moment you chase innocence, you declare guilt. The real operator doesn't play that game. He stands too calm to be shaken, too composed to be cornered, too high to explain himself. Over time, those who try to tear him down begin to look unhinged. The more you defend, the more guilty you look. The more you ignore, the more dangerous you seem. Because power doesn't come from proving you're good. It comes from convincing people that crossing you has consequences. Most people believe power means proving themselves, proving they're right, proving they're honest, proving they're better than others' opinions. But Machiavelli would smirk at this. Because the second you try to prove anything, you've already accepted someone else's judgment as valid. The Machiavellian refuses that premise entirely. He doesn't fight for acceptance, he commands it. When you argue for your goodness, you kneel before perception. When you remain silent, perception kneels before you. Picture yourself at a table. Someone takes a public shot at you, he always thinks he's right, or humility isn't really his strength. The normal reaction? Nervous laughter, a quick clarification, an awkward smile. That's the trap. Every word you say in defense gives life to the attack. The crowd watches your discomfort, and that discomfort confirms the insult. The Machiavellian, however, pauses. He waits. He scans the room, calm, unbothered. Then, if he speaks at all, it's short and sharp. "You seem emotional today. Interesting take." Or nothing at all. The silence lingers. The attacker fidgets. They search for backup. Suddenly, the room sees them as the emotional one. That's the inversion of judgment, when calmness becomes accusation and emotion becomes weakness. Online, the battlefield moves even faster. Comment sections, call-outs, and viral outrage, each designed to bait you into reacting. Machiavelli would tell you this: silence can look like guilt, unless your silence commands fear. That's why the goal isn't just to be quiet, it's to control the narrative without touching it. When someone calls you toxic or manipulative, don't defend. Reframe. Say, "People always call you dangerous when they can't control you." You just turn their accusation into an advertisement for your strength. They look bitter. You look untouchable. That's not PR, that's narrative dominance. There are 3 tools every Machiavellian operator masters. The first is silence, cold and deliberate, exposing others by reflection. The second is deflection, reframing the situation without ever lowering yourself into it. And the third is precision cuts, short, sharp truths that end the game instantly. Confidence upsets the insecure. "I don't owe you authenticity. I don't think like everyone." These aren't defenses, they're statements of dominance. They signal that you operate from a higher plane, one where emotion doesn't reach and explanations aren't required. When you stop defending yourself, something remarkable happens. Your enemies become louder, more desperate, more transparent. They start performing their own downfall. They expected a fight. Instead, they end up shadowboxing silence. And every word they say after that makes them look weaker. You force them to play against themselves. That's the Machiavellian endgame, not to destroy your enemies, but to let their obsession with you do the job for you. You might think being misunderstood is dangerous, but being predictable is far worse. The misunderstood man carries mystery. The predictable man carries chains. People who explain themselves become easy to read and easy to control. But those who remain calmly misunderstood are untouchable. Machiavelli said, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." But the modern translation is simpler: it's better to be confusing than predictable. Confusion makes people cautious. Predictability makes them careless. And in every game of power, caution is control. Now, let's crush the final illusion. You don't need a good reputation to win. You need a strong one. A good reputation makes people expect you to be kind, agreeable, safe. A strong reputation makes people careful. They might not like you. They might not trust you. But they'll think twice before moving against you. That's what happens when you stop defending yourself. Your reputation stops being about what people believe and starts being about what they fear. You no longer chase approval. You create tension. Even your silence starts to feel like a decision. Every move you don't make becomes a move in their mind. The final evolution isn't silence. It's aura. A presence so composed, so controlled, so far above the noise that accusations dissolve before they land. It's not about being emotionless. It's about being unbothered by design. Once you've trained yourself not to defend, not to explain, not to chase validation, something shifts. You cross a line where your presence becomes your proof. You stop reacting and start defining. And that's when power becomes effortless. Think about the rare few who never explain themselves. They don't argue online. They don't post emotional rebuttals. They don't correct every rumor. Yet they're respected more. Why? Because silence builds myth. It invites imagination. And when people don't have answers, they fill the gaps with strength. They assume you must be dangerous, certain, or wise. That mystery is influence. Machiavelli didn't care about being liked. He cared about being in control. And the one who never defends himself always controls how he's seen, even in a storm of lies. Here's the paradox of power: the more you explain yourself, the more isolated you appear. No one feels the need to defend a man who's already fighting for himself. But when you stand silent, calm, untouched, people begin to defend you for you. They say, "That was unfair. He didn't even react." Without asking, they become your shield. That's Machiavellian leverage, letting others guard your image while you remain above the noise. This transformation takes time. You build it like a fortress, one act of restraint at a time. By choosing stillness over reaction. By speaking less than you could. By never explaining more than you must. When someone throws a jab, don't counter. Let it echo into silence. Your lack of reaction tells the room the insult didn't land. And if you must speak, do it with calm confusion, not anger. Is that how you see it? Then let it end there. Use short, final phrases. Noted. Okay. Think what you like. Time will tell. These are replies, they're exits. They close the scene, not extend it. Pay attention to your face, your body, your breathing. The Machiavellian never flinches or fidgets. Stillness is his armor. The calmer you are when others lose control, the more your power grows. Because unreadable people are unbreakable. A calm presence becomes a mirror that reflects others' chaos back at them. And eventually, the attacks stop, not because you fought them, but because people realize they can't win. Your silence becomes a warning: I don't play defense. I let others destroy themselves trying to reach me. Understand this distinction: strength still reacts. Immunity doesn't even register the hit. That's the Machiavellian ideal, not to win the argument, but to end it before it begins. When you stop defending yourself, you step out of the court of public opinion. You're no longer the one being judged. You become the judge. The only verdict that matters is your own. From that point on, you don't live in defense, you live in definition. You define your image, your tone, your silence. And people feel it. They see the calm in your posture, the certainty in your eyes, the quiet danger in your restraint. You're not reacting anymore. You're directing. And that's when the atmosphere shifts. Rooms go quiet when you enter. Your enemies hesitate. Your name carries weight, not because you fought for it, but because you never explained it. Never defending yourself doesn't mean never speaking. It means speaking only when it shifts the power. Every word becomes a move. Every pause becomes tension. Every calm breath becomes command. Because each time you refuse to explain yourself, each time you remain still while the world spins, you become the one thing no one can control, a man who answers to no one.